We're going to do the 10 animes you must watch to be an essential anime fan. Parentheses, these are good animes to watch if you haven't seen animes. And then colon, hey, if you don't know a lot about anime, try checking these shows out.
I think you hit the nail right on the head with that description. That is exactly the playlist that we've put together for you.
So it's kind of like, if you are listening to this podcast for some reason and you're not a big anime fan, maybe because you're Laven's friend or you're my parents or something like that, maybe you just found it randomly and, just biding your time. Well, here's some anime to watch to become an anime fan, and then you'll know kind of what we're talking about. These are chosen by the two of us.
Curated for maximum enjoyment.
So, we had a hard time, we had a fun time picking these animes. Not necessarily the best anime ever, but they're, just kind of anime you should watch before death comes knocking at your door.
Indeed. It's a nice little list here that it's going to kind of cover a lot of different genres and just be a real good kind of broad sampler pack of like, this is anime. If you like this rainbow of anime, you'll like something on the spectrum.
Yeah, anime you should see.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, well, without further ado, why don't you introduce anime number 1?
All right, anime number 1, top 1 anime, where this is like, if you like some sci-fi, maybe you've watched Battlestar Galactica in your day, and you're like, well, what's this anime business? You should try Cowboy Bebop. To me, when people say that, it always sounds like, yeah, obviously, everyone's seen Cowboy Bebop. But it occurs to me that there are a lot of, like, younger people that didn't really watch this when it was coming out. And it's kind of an old fogey show at this point.
I mean, it premiered on Adult Swim in America in, 2001, and while it ran for several years after that, there's a whole generation or two, possibly, of anime fans who haven't seen it.
Exactly, yeah. It's pretty much the singular classic example of anime in America, I think. It's just like Cowboy Bebop. That's the one that I think of, anyway.
It takes place in the far future, and humanity colonized a bunch of different planets all over the galaxy.
Yep.
And it's just these space cowboys, bounty hunters.
Yeah, they're just space bounty hunters. They go around. It's kind of episodic. I mean, you start to kind of learn about the characters as they go, but they're always trying to track somebody down. It's just a good 26-episode series that you feel for the characters by the end, but like while the show's going on, you get some like Monster of the Week element stuff, but just some like a couple of good arcs that are really story-driven.
There's some action. There's a lot of lightheartedness in there, though.
It really is like just like a American action movie. No, not like an 80s one, but like a cool Pulp Fiction-y kind of action movie.
Yeah.
Just like there's jazz soundtrack. There's really good cinematography.
Oh yeah, the animation's really good.
Yeah, it's just a really cool show. It's pretty gangstery and like kind of seedy.
Well, it is our first recommendation. It's not personally my most favorite anime. I like the movie better, but I don't know. I think there's better shows than this, but if you haven't seen Cowboy Bebop, you should give it a try.
Definitely. I think it's the best to kind of get your foot wet with what this anime business, Japanimation, is. If you've seen nothing and you're like, I want to know what this is like, watch Cowboy Bebop. And then once you're like accustomed to how an anime looks, you can like kind of branch out from there.
Yeah, if you haven't seen it, see it. Anything else to say about that?
No.
What's our second recommendation?
Number 2 would be The Girl Who Leapt Through Time, which is a movie, and it was made by Madhouse, which is a cool studio. It's a pretty cool sci-fi story as well, and since it's a movie, it's pretty easy to just watch in one sitting without having to commit your time to 26 episodes. And it's pretty down to earth, literally. Because, I don't know, the story is like a sci-fi story with time travel, but nothing like fantastical happens. So if you just like a regular sci-fi story, you'd like this.
It's a really successful story. It's based on a book, and it became a TV show, a movie, a manga, an anime. And you've had a lot of success showing the anime to all of your acquaintances, and it's usually a positive result.
I've never heard someone not like this movie. And I always show it to people who like are interested in anime and like ask me like a recommendation of like what's something really fast I can watch, and I've like seen, Dragon Ball Z and that's about it, and I want to watch some cool anime. And I know they like movies already. I'll be like, no, this is a definitely hands down winner. Just watch Girl Who Left Your Time and you'll have a good time watching it.
I've never heard of anybody not liking it. Even me, like you did the same thing when I got into anime. You're like, watch Girl Who Left Her Time. And then I did. And I really, really liked it.
It's a gateway drug. It gets you, it's like the nice little link into like, the next level of watching anime. It's got a lot of Japan school stuff that you'll kind of see throughout your anime watching career.
Yeah, it's a good mix of daily life and time travel, but drama. This girl is just a regular high school girl who's just having a hard time deciding what she wants to be when she grows up, and just being a teen girl. But then she gets the power to travel through time, and she just has normal teen girl problems that she solves through the time thing, and it just gets a little bit more science fiction from there.
It's got everything. It's got great drama. It's like romance, a little tragedy. It's good.
Nobody's ever not liked it.
Nope, it's perfect. It's a perfect little combination of something not to hate.
If you ever want to watch something on a screen that you'll definitely like, The Girl Who Leapt Through Time.
Definitely.
Guaranteed.
All right. Well, what comes after this? Those two are kind of related because of sci-fi. Then, if you don't like sci-fi, there's another show.
So our third recommendation is Great Teacher Onizuka.
This show, I would say, did a large part of me continuing to watch anime. A lot because of the manga first, because I really love the manga. But the anime is also really awesome. And it's this guy who was in a motorcycle gang. He's just a general badass, but he's kind of like he's like a good guy. He thinks he's more like tough than he kind of is. Just going around trying to get a cool job, basically. He doesn't really know what he wants to do. And then he figures out that he can become a teacher because he'll get him chicks.
Which is his whole mission in life.
Yeah. He's just really like this like kind of dumb
punk
kid who he's like in his late 20s and he's like, whatever, I don't really care. And he was this badass motorcycle leader, but he never was like a bad guy ever. And he's just kind of like, all right, I guess I should try to go for this teacher gig. I think he tries to like say he can date the girls too.
Yeah.
And so he's surrounded by all these like cute Japanese girls all the time. And he's like, yeah, that's pretty awesome. And then he's like, they'll just love me and it'll be great. And but he also has like an associate's degree from a junior college and like no ambitions and doesn't have any credentials to become a teacher. But he's able to find some kind of program that accepts him for like a trial basis. So he's like on this like going for his teacher's license, which apparently you don't need any kind of degree. You can just like, if you come to this certain place, you can apply for the teacher's license, and they like put you with a class for a trial period of time. And he's basically tasked with like some kids who are unruly, and he figures out how to connect with them and be their mentor, all while kind of hating it and not being a good teacher of facts, but like a teacher of street smarts and morals and things like that.
Yeah, it's like the classic story of the teacher who gets the problem class and turns them around, but the teacher in this case is a delinquent, but with a heart of gold.
Yeah, that is a better way of saying it. A lot less words than I used.
It's a comedy, so whose Toyota is he always breaking?
The principal of the school, because he finds like work at a private university that doesn't have any sort of like guidelines on credentials. So like the assistant principal, because the real principal is the good girl, like the good old lady who like sees that Onizuka's a nice guy and like gives him the job. But the assistant principal is like this old man who's just really strict and he's always by the book and he hates Onizuka because he thinks he's a punk trash.
Semi-rightfully so. Onizuka's not an angel.
No. Onizuka's constantly doing gags and tricks and like just being generally unruly. Not usually like destructive, but it pisses off the assistant principal because he's like, we can't have this delinquent leading our kids and shaping our youth. And he's like, whatever, man, I'm the best. And then he constantly keeps accidentally breaking the car of the assistant principal and just making him furious. But they never have proof that they can get him that he did it. And it's always an accident. Like Onizuka doesn't mean to do it. But somehow, along the course of him doing stuff, he breaks the car.
It's a great kind of comedy, school life anime, but it has a lot of lessons, like the kid's getting in a lot of trouble and he kind of turns them around.
He has to try, he's the homeroom teacher, so he doesn't have any subjects. All he does is just gather the kids, basically, and be responsible for that class of kids. So he just gets to keep trying to connect with them. Without getting too spoiler into it, basically the bulk of the series is about this one class who's like a bunch of troubled kids. And they have like this mission to like make it so every teacher they ever have gets fired. And he's like, whatever, you can't fire me. And then one by one tries to win them back.
Yeah, he's just the kind of guy they need to come in there.
Yep. Tries to teach him. He's like, adults care about you kids. You're not like disenfranchised like you think.
It's kind of long running. It's 4 to 3 episodes. I don't know if it adapts the whole manga, but
I think it does. Yeah, it runs the entire manga. The manga's great. The TV anime is pretty good as well. Mostly it's a good adaptation. I think there's a TV drama you can also check out if you just like how the story sounds, but it's good stuff. Yeah, and if you like that like school theme, if you like Japanese school, then wait till you get a load of Cromartie High School, which is pretty funny.
Our 4th recommendation is another boys' high school comedy. Well, I guess Great Teacher Onizuka was a boys' school, but Cromartie High School is a boys' school.
It's like a parody / just like absurdist humor of this boys' school, and it's like short little gags. I don't even know how to like really explain a good example of how this show is without you just have to watch it.
It's just surreal. Like the first day of school, just a mild-mannered guy, the smart guy comes into school, but he's in like the delinquent class. Cromartie High School is full of like the toughest, just meanest kids around. But it turns out they're all wacky. Like they're, beating each other up and having stupid haircuts and eating pencils. And there's a robot in the class that nobody recognizes as a robot.
But he's like a literal, like a old school big metal robot where it's like, this obviously a robot. It's a big square. And they're just like, they treat him like a kid and they don't understand he's a robot.
There's a gorilla who's part of the class. Like Freddie Mercury rides a horse around the school. It's wacky. It's
pretty funny. It's pretty awesome. I can't even think of any better school comedies than this.
Yeah, if you want to just watch something hilarious, just laugh out loud funny, this is good comedy. Sometimes anime, sometimes the comedy can be hard to get across over here. It's an art, but I think Cromartie High School, like, it's pretty funny. Like, you watch this, you'll get a good dose.
Yep. It's good stuff. Very hilarious.
Yeah, it's not like romantic comedy or like a drama with some comedic relief. Like, it's all comedy. Like, nothing is going on besides just hilarious jokes and gags. So, if you are ready for that, just check out Cromartie High School.
If you like comedy, if you like to laugh at any capacity, just watch it. You'll be happy you did.
It's got a pretty good English dub, I heard, doesn't it?
Yeah, I actually watched most of it English dubbed because it aired on G4 back in the day. And so I watched it first in English dub and just, you lose a little bit. Watching the Japanese one, they have I don't know, it makes it a little more full. But the other one's pretty okay. It's a little more bland, but the jokes are still on point because they're basically exactly translated. It's a lot of like body humor and stuff, so it's fine.
Personally, I would always prefer watching a show in the native language than having subtitles, but if you're the kind of person who cannot do that, then Cromartie is fine. You watch it subbed. A lot of people, for comedy, they have a harder time because of the timing, so it's got a good English sub, it's got good comedy, so whether you like subs or dubs, you gotta check it out.
Yep, definitely give it a shot. Comedy time. So, if you like all that, you watch Cowboy Bebop, Go Hula Up Through Time, Great Teacher Onizuka, Cromartie High School, and you're like, all that was great. I want to take the next level. I want to keep watching anime. Then, you can move on to a little show called Fooly Cooly, or FLCL, or Fooly Cooly, which you've probably heard of if you like had a TV in Adult Swim before.
Maybe, yeah. This is another one that was kind of popularized by Adult Swim, but maybe a little bit less so. I mean, I know when I was a kid, I definitely watched it a lot.
Yeah, I made a little VHS tape of all the episodes because there's only 6 episodes. And so I fit them all on a tape and was like, yeah, I got them all. So happy. Cut out all the commercials manually.
I mean, I don't know how it is watching it as an adult for the first time, but the words coming of age story,
yeah,
or like maturing story, like this is like the definition of it to me.
It's like a little wacky coming of age slice of life. Not really slice of life, but kind of a surreal slice of life sort of a deal.
Yeah, I mean, there's symbolism involved, and a lot of people also say it's a comedy. There's a lot of like little parody moments.
Yeah.
Because it's by Gainax. Of course, they're always parodying things, and they love mechs, so there's kind of mecha designs in it.
It's like a big old social commentary about Japan at the time, and probably still stuff that the parody could still hold true today.
Exactly, yeah. It's a commentary on the social culture and just like coming of age, you know. This boy, the main character, his brother grew up and moved out of the house, and he's got these girls at school and this wild girl who drives into town, and, you know, his body starts going over changes, and there's a robot, there's an evil corporation.
Yeah, it's a good time. I remember when I watched this, I was like the same age as the kid. I was always like, hey, that's cool. This is a cool show.
You know, hopefully it's not a time and place thing, because I watched it at a time in a place, but as far as the animation style goes, it's like the late 90s, early 2000s, and this is definitely my favorite kind of art style.
Visual style, yeah. It's not bad. One of my favorite shows of all time. It has a killer soundtrack.
Talk about soundtracks.
It's the best soundtrack I've ever heard in my life from anime, and that's because it's just pillow songs, save for like a couple that are just like some soundtracky songs, but I think are still done by the Pillows.
I think it's almost all the Pillows, which is the best Japanese rock band.
It's top notch. You just get to hear great music. It all fits perfectly with what's going on.
It's really something special. I've watched it since then, and I still like it, so I think it holds up. Like, this is one that I really was sure was going to be on the list. So it's only 6 episodes. If you're getting a little bit into anime, I'd check it out, but I don't know, maybe if you are an adult, you might not be able to relate to it, but a lot of us are kids at heart, so there you go. You might still be able to.
It's definitely worth your time to check out, at the very least.
Yeah.
If you like that a lot, if you're just like, wow, what a great show, and you like just the feel and style of that show, you can continue on with a newer show by that same studio called Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann.
That's right. It's our number 6 recommendation.
It literally translates to Pierce the Heavens, Gurren Lagann.
Making breakthrough, Gurren Lagann.
That's right.
Heavenly breakthrough.
Pierce the heavens. Hit those heavens with your drill bits, friends, because you're in for a real treat. It's this crazy story of these mechs, and they live on the surface world, and the humans live underground, and they come out, and there's like spiral technology. It's really hard to explain like the entire plot of the whole thing, because it's really convoluted and crazy, and it just gets wacky, like wackier than Fooly Cooly.
But it's not like a strict comedy. Like, it's mostly just like action, action, action. Like, when somebody says the word like Japanese anime, this is what they're thinking, like giant robots, girls with big boobs, fighting, transforming, you know, just like action all the time.
It's like an homage to that exact stereotype. So they just crank everything to 11, and it's crazy. Yeah. And there's just like a universe, and that's not even the biggest thing. Like, there's a super universe and just craziness. Like, it's just everything like you want it to be in excess when you're a kid. You're just like, yeah, and then he blows them up. Like, basically, it's just that. And you're like, what? The super stereotypical biocomputer man. He's resurrected, and he's the guy.
Yeah, just like epic. Like, if you want to just like watch like an epic action, just like it's the definition of that. Just
over the top. Just over the top nonsense greatness.
They cranked it up and tore the knob off, and then they tore the radio into pieces and like built a louder radio and then amplified that, and it's just purposeful excess.
Yep. Super excess. Kind of like, I don't know, if it might compare to like what you think of as superhero stuff compared to like The Office. So if what we were talking about before is like The Office, this would be like a superhero show where you're like, what? It's so ridiculous. They're just flying around doing stuff.
But it holds together. Like, it also has a continuing story. It's not just completely
the story is
nonsense.
It's great. It's really, the drama and all the story is very solid.
Oh yeah, lots of drama too in there.
It's a great watch. You'll fall in love with all the characters, and you'll just watch copious amounts of destruction and just on-screen eye candy. It's a good time.
I mean, personally, I didn't really like the first half of the show.
There's like two main distinct halves, and after the first half, it kind of changes into something else.
I mean, it's so popular, and it's pretty successful, and we can't really talk about anime without having, you know, a show like Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann in there, so definitely one to try out.
It was one of my favorites growing up. And the last of the 3 Gainax shows that I picked.
3 out of 10 on this list are Gainax.
Gainax is like probably my favorite studio.
They're a really good studio.
They haven't done anything cool.
They were a really good
lately,
studio.
Because everyone who's cool went to Trigger. Like, they're the OG cool studio trying to do like more than just sell toys.
They grew up watching cartoons and they were like, let's take this to the next level.
Yeah, they were super popular in like the early 90s until like the really early 2000s. So they haven't really made anything cool since. But they did manage to make my favorite anime of all time, Neon Genesis Evangelion, which I don't know how to start talking about this show without dedicating the entire episode to it.
Yeah, when we were putting together this list, I think it began with this show. It's definitely not the first anime you should watch, but...
No, you can't watch this first. If it's just like, I've seen Star Trek, should I watch anime? You're like, watch Evangelion. That won't work, in my opinion. You might be the kind of person who just like loves it immediately, but maybe not.
I mean, technically it takes place in 2015, but when the show came out, it was 1995, so that was kind of the future.
A lot of stuff that you might have seen, just this kind of generic anime tropes, started with this show, like aesthetic things.
But at the same time, this show took anime tropes that a lot of people have seen at the time this came out and kind of turned those on its head.
It's pretty groundbreaking for the time, that's for sure. And it really influenced most things after it. Yeah, like anime before this, I can't even like put into words like how there's just like a different kind of style for most shows coming out, and then this Evangelion came out, and then after that, a lot of people just stepped up their game and always added some crazier elements to their things.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off as like they're on like Neo Tokyo 3 because in the future these aliens called angels keep coming down and destroying the Earth.
It sounds like Tokusatsu or something in the beginning. Not really crazy.
Humans have to create these mechs to have people pilot them and fight off the aliens.
Which are giant big beings, like too big. So they need these like humanoid robots to fight them off.
That 14-year-old children fight in.
You have to be 14. There's some mystery related to why only 14-year-old people can pilot these big robots who are the only thing strong enough to beat these aliens called the angels. And every episode, or maybe every couple episodes, another angel comes. It's like a puzzle. They're all different. None of them are the same. They don't look like, it's not like a race of aliens are attacking. It's like each one is its own strange, unique creature, and it just comes and just starts destroying stuff, and the robot has to fight it. But they all have like a puzzle or a strength and a weakness that they all have to figure out how to defeat the angel. But then a lot of different plot points unfold, and it starts becoming kind of a conspiracy thriller / psychological evaluation of a lot of things / like commentary on religion and all this stuff. And you're like, okay, what? And it's pretty famous for going through a lot of studio financing problems while it was being made. So like after a point, animation quality just sort of drops off. And it's also known for having a really mentally unstable director. So between the budget going away and also the sanity of the director going away as well, then it just gets really crazy in the middle and end to where you're like, what is the show even about anymore?
I think it was always written to be a psychological drama, though. I don't think like the money or the current...
Well, the money makes it so the production starts to get kind of crazy through watching it. So it has that kind of going for it.
Yeah, I guess if you really look for it, but maybe if it's just your first time just watching it, you're just like, yeah, this is a weird show.
Well, you'll totally tell. Like, the last 2 episodes are just still frames, and
Well, spoilers.
there's a lot of just, like, empty pan shots for nothing going on, where you find out they're like, oh, because they had not enough money to like, animate any more cells, so they're just going to hold freeze frame on this cell for, like, 2 actual literal minutes.
It's purposeful points, though. It's not obvious, like, oh, he's walking down the street uselessly. Like, the frames that they hold extended times are like, they build emotions and senses. Like, it gives weight to the moment.
It does. I'm not arguing that it doesn't, but I think it was less purpose, and a lot of those are more like, we can sneak in a little thing here and save some money.
Yeah, but you can easily argue that it's just to give weight to the scene.
Maybe.
Create tension, like, it's not that bad.
There's parts where it is that bad. It definitely are. Full episodes toward the end where you're like, oh, good.
It's the most psychological show that made it onto the list.
Yep, it's pretty weird. It doesn't seem like it's going to be weird until about halfway through, and then things just start getting kind of crazy.
You might not immediately enjoy it, but out of all the shows, like, this is one of the most essential that you should watch someday.
At least just to make yourself watch the whole thing so you can see what it's all about and what people mean when they talk about the show. Because it's kind of got a really large cult following at this point.
Yeah. Neon Genesis Evangelion.
Top 1 best anime. So watch that. And then if you want kind of that, but instead of robots, it's magical girls, you can watch this other show called Puella Magi Magica, aka Madoka Magica. Or Magica. I hear people say it weird a lot.
Well, I guess in Japanese it would technically be Magica.
It would be Magica. But
that's stupid. It's Madoka Magica.
Madoka Magica.
That's what I call her.
I call her Madokes.
Who calls her that?
Just humans.
But yeah, it's just a nice magical girl anime.
But if people aren't familiar with what a magical girl is,
it's just a high school girl, and she transforms into a pretty princess warrior to fight monsters that are terrorizing the town.
Yeah, like Sailor Moon, that's magical girl, basically. So think of like that kind of thing.
But this one is kind of a corruption of that. It starts out as that, but it gets a lot more serious.
It gets kind of horror, a little bit.
Maybe a little bit.
Psychological horror.
Yeah, another psychological show, drama,
dark,
thriller. Not that dark or horror though, but I mean, I guess it depends on where your
it has elements of
your
those
meter
things.
For that stands.
Well, it doesn't have none. There are elements of it.
That's true. Yeah, like it's not like a horror movie, but
no.
I guess there's some blood at points.
Okay.
I guess people die at points, so.
Yeah, there's like upsetting situations where you'd be like, that's kind of horror.
Yeah, it starts off nice and magical and gets real serious, and the contrast between those two is done well. And
it's the same kind of show that seems like it's going to be one thing and then is like something else.
And it does it like in a really good way. This one's by Studio Shaft, who is one of my favorites because it just oozes style and like really cool art.
It's the most beautiful one out of all of these things, I think. It's just colorful and nice, and it's really stylized, like heavily stylized. Just like a work of art. It's hard to talk about for people who haven't seen it because kind of quickly things start turning, but... they do. They start turning. I mean, it's not a spoiler to say because the whole series opens with like, they're in that gray space and everything's crumbling and things are going down. It's like a flash forward, Yeah. It's great. It's also one of the best anime of all time, so... Yep, I have a nice little poster that I got from the screening of the first 2 movies. Wait, I think we got that poster from the screening of the second movie, or the third movie. No, I think we were late for the third movie. I think we were late for the first movie. Because remember when they had signed poster boards for the first movie? And that was for the first movie. And we're like, man, we didn't get any of that because we were late. But the second time we got there early, and we got posters. What does the poster say? Can you see the poster? It's just a movie poster. It's just got all the girls standing. Does it say, like, what movie it is? It's not in this room. Well, we'll find out. We'll edit it in. Edit in what it is? Okay.
Editor's note, the posters we have are from the screening of the first 2 films, Part 1 Beginnings and Part 2 Eternal. But yeah, this Madoka Magica is just like, it's a trip, man.
It's a real trip. It's like an acid trip. It's like Sailor Moon acid trip, Monster Attack.
It just hits it on another really good soundtrack, really good art,
The
really
visuals
good
are
story.
stellar. That's the best part, I think.
Yeah. Watch this, you better be ready.
Get ready. And then once you watch that, if you're ready for like more of that sort of thing, but a little lighter in tone.
I would say quite a bit lighter in tone.
You say quite a bit?
Yes.
No, it's pretty much just the same amount of psychological horror.
What?
I'm just kidding.
Okay.
Another show that's pretty cool is Haruhi Suzumiya, or The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, which is this girl. She's a weirdo and a little bossy, and she tricks these people into being her slaves.
Imagine if somebody like knew nothing about the show and you're just like, a girl is a little bossy, tricks people into being her slaves.
I mean, that's essentially what happens. But they kind of stick around being her slaves for on their own accord for some reason. No, she basically
This is great.
She
Wouldn't you say the main character is Kyon? Should it be from his point of view?
well, it is. It's in first person from his point of view in the first place.
Yeah.
All right. So there's this guy, and he's just real boring, and he doesn't care about anything. And he's like a pretty cynical guy.
Typical high school student. First day of high school.
Yeah. So the whole story is like through he's like the narrator, and it's first person perspective. He's this high school student. He's like, whatever, everything's dumb. I just want to go home.
He doesn't believe in Santa Claus.
No, he just is super logical and just like wants to hang out and play games or whatever. You know, just typical dude. And then this girl is really like eccentric and crazy, and she has a different ribbon in her hair for every day of the week, and just like says nonsense, and everyone doesn't like her because they don't understand her at all. And she's constantly looking for aliens or espers or time travelers or any sort of like phenomena that's like supernatural or like unexplainable. She's just like basically a one-man X-Files club, and no one wants to talk to her usually. But she bumps into the main character, Kyon. He gets kind of intrigued because he's really bored and doesn't have anything to do with his life. And she is really bossy and like makes him do stuff. And he's kind of like, all right, I'll see where this goes. And they form this club, and they just deal with supernatural things that keep occurring. It alludes like those things don't exist in the world. It's just like in normal times. And then like some weird stuff starts happening, and they start investigating it. And the whole time Kyon's like, oh, this girl, I don't know. But then they do run into something unexplainable, some kind of phenomena. And it's just really fun. There's like a little mystery. It was shown out of order originally. So it was just like, imagine your favorite series, and you just watched episode 5 and then 2 and then 7, and they just kind of shuffled them up, and they're like, see, it's already.
Yeah, it was intentionally broadcast out of order.
Yep, it was totally intentional, but it's not like flashbacks and meant to be that way. It's just like you as a human put it together after you've watched all the episodes.
But I'm going to say right now, watch it in chronological order.
Yeah.
Do not watch it in broadcast
There's
order.
no reason to do so. It's stupid.
It's stupid.
The only reason you would have ever done that is because you had to, if you were Japanese and it was coming out. Or you were getting the fan subs as they came out.
Well, it's based on a light novel, which started the popularization of adapting light novels into anime. And it's kind of the now quintessential, I'm just a regular brown-haired high school boy. Oh, there's these unique girls, and I'm in the club with them, and we go on fantasy adventures.
That's exactly... This has started it all, though. This is unheard of before this show.
Number 1, Haruhi Suzumiya is a good story. Number 2, you've got Kyoto Animation adapting it, which is like, talk about good animation.
Yep, that's the trifecta. So
these guys tear it up.
Between Shaft and Gainax, and then also Kyoani, you just got the triple threat of like really, really nice, crisp, fun to watch animation.
And just good direction. I mean, like, Gainax and Shaft will go out there to be art house, kind of real styling, but Kyoto Animation is like, we are going to do the best possible job. It really just seems like they're just, I don't know, have more budget than other people, or don't outsource anything.
Well, they have plenty of budget because they have plenty of money, because they have plenty of merchandise sales for their generically cute characters that they just sell buttloads of toys for.
I know Madoka was a bunch of moe kawaii girls, and Haruhi has a share of that. But it has also
It has cool stuff. It's
drama and some action and mystery and comedy, and
it's like science fantasy. There's like it's like fantastical, but there's like some sci-fi elements to it.
yeah, equal measure slice of life sci-fi.
Yep. It's a really fun watch. It just starts getting unexplainable and crazy, and you find out like crazy secrets about the universe and like what's going on. It's really fun. It's a good watch.
And just well done. There's 2 seasons of it, and I think they sell it now in chronological order, or hopefully it's offered in chronological order, but make sure you're watching Haruhi in chronological order.
Definitely.
There's a movie that's really good. It comes afterwards.
Yep.
And then, sadly, there's a bunch of light novels that weren't adapted into anime that are still left. So.
Well, in the world of Anibros, it's dead to us. We don't know about that.
But yeah, that's another one I really wanted to have on the list because it's so well known and
totally worth your time. It's a very good show. There'll be some naysayers that you may meet, and just punch them. Just tell them they're wrong.
And don't skip Endless 8.
Nope, watch all 8, regardless of how you feel.
Yeah, at any point, if you feel like skipping ahead or dropping the series, just keep going.
It'll reward you by making you a better person in general.
Trust me, it's worth it.
That's a great show. And then to end it all, end it now, as quoted by the late great Patrick Mason, Death Note. What can you say about Death Note? It's a kid with a book and a lot of responsibility.
It's wicked popular.
It's pretty popular. I'm sure you've heard of Death Note. That's one of those ones, like Pokemon. Like, if you grew up at that time where you're just like, yep, Death Note was in the Hot Topic and everyone knows about Death Note.
It's a real simple premise that kind of spirals out of control really quickly. It's just a normal, well, not a normal high school student. This guy's a genius. He's real smart. His dad's a cop, right?
Yep.
So he's got a sense of justice. And he finds a magical book that if you write somebody's name in it, they die.
Wait, don't they have to have eye contact too or something like that? They have to see the person as they're writing the name?
No.
Is that not a thing? For some reason, I remember that being a thing. Because he has to like watch them on TV so they die or whatever.
No, I don't think so. There's some rules. There's some backup rules about like...
I can't remember all the rules.
Like to close up loopholes or whatever, but it's basically you write somebody's name in the book and they die. This guy's like really smart and he's like, all right, I'm going to take down all the criminals. But then they get like the best investigators in there who's also a really smart like high school guy, right? Is he high school? Some young man.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
I think he's in high school. He's like also a genius.
Yeah, so it's these 2 geniuses just having this psychological, supernatural battle between trying to find each other.
He's trying to kill all the criminals, and the investigator's trying to find who's killing the criminals with having like nothing to go off of. Because it's just like they mysteriously die.
So the stakes are really high, and they're just constantly outsmarting each other and trying to stay steps ahead of each other.
Yep.
It's really, I mean, there's the fantasy kind of supernatural element to it, but it's a good show outside of that.
I would say so. It's got a little more supernatural than I'd like, but it is good. It gets you really drawn in, especially with all the mystery / like detective battles. It's pretty interesting to watch.
Yeah, if you're the kind of person who doesn't like magical, fantastical things,
you could still like this.
Definitely give this a shot despite that, because it's mainly about just the mental battles and the setups and the plans and hanging on the edge of your seat, like what's going to happen? And then you see like this big criminal plan unfold, and it's really dramatic.
It is really good. And that's 10. That's 10 animes. 10 Japanimations that you should watch if you want to watch some Japanimations.
I mean, you should like one of those 10, and if you don't, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I would say that. You probably just don't like being entertained if you don't like anything from that list.
Because we've seen all those, and I mean, we both agree that they're all good shows.
They're all great shows, and they're all shows that people can like, and there's nothing specialized about it, really. They all have like their obvious like interest areas, but like, for the most part, they're just like a balanced enough show to where like, yeah, this is like a good story, good show.
I mean, I would be disappointed if you said you wouldn't like some of those shows, but I mean, I would be just really feeling sorry for you if you said you didn't like all of those.
Yep.
So, there you go. There's 10 animes.
Watch them.
Watch them.
Watch them.
I recommend it.
I recommend you go to our website at www.anibrospodcast.com